The letter arrived on a Tuesday tucked in amongst the power bill and a supermarket catalogue. It was from the Department of Defense, crisp and official, hinting at a future for Port Kembla that felt both inevitable and deeply unsettling. For the residents of the Illawarra who'd built lives around the steelworks and the port, this wasn't just bureaucracy, it was a seismic shift, a redefinition of their home. And for many it carried the chilling implication of a massive target painted squarely on their backs. Before the official documents, before the whispers turned into headlines, Port Kembla was for its residents home. It was the grit of the steelworks alongside the surprising beauty of its beaches, the working class spirit that built communities brick by brick. Take Maria for instance, who'd spent her entire life in Warrawong, just a stone's throw from the harbour. Her father had worked the furnaces, her brother drove forklifts on the docks, and her own small cafe thrived on the morning rush of shift workers. Her life was entwined with the port's rhythm. Further north in Wollongong, Mark, a third-generation wharfie, saw the port not just as his livelihood, but as a legacy, a testament to the sweat and toil of his family. He'd seen the port evolve, adapt, but always it remained their port. These were people deeply connected to their landscape, to the smell of the sea mixed with industrial hum, to the knowledge that their hard work kept a vital part of Australia moving. They weren't political pundits or defence strategists, they were Australians doing their bit, raising families, paying their mortgages and believing in a fair go for their community. They knew the risks of heavy industry, the environmental battles won and lost, but this was different. This felt like a gamble with stakes far beyond their comprehension, and a decision made behind closed doors, miles away from their living rooms. The incident began not with a bang but with a drip feed of information, then a sudden torrent. For months, perhaps even years, whispers had circulated about Australia's ambition to acquire nuclear-powered submarines under the AUKUS Security Pact. The nation was told these subs would bolster our defence capabilities, securing our future in a complex geopolitical landscape. What wasn't openly discussed, however, was where these behemoths would call home. The secrecy around the East Coast basing options was palpable, a tightly guarded government secret. Then in May 2026 those secrets started to unravel. Previously classified documents obtained through what we can only assume was a monumental effort were released. And there it was in black and white: Port Kembla, New South Wales, was listed as the preferred East Coast base for the nuclear-powered submarines. Not a vague possibility but a preferred option. The news hit the Illawarra like a wave. For years the community had battled environmental concerns, industrial shifts and the ongoing challenge of maintaining local jobs. Now this. The South Coast Labour Council, representing thousands of workers across the region, reacted with immediate and unequivocal alarm. They weren't just concerned about job displacement or local infrastructure, their warning was starker, more existential. They publicly declared that establishing a nuclear submarine base in Port Kembla would place a massive target on our backs. This wasn't hyperbole from a union looking for a fight, it was a deeply felt fear for the safety and security of their families, their homes and their future, particularly given the perceived connection to what they referred to as Trump's Navy. The term itself, loaded with specific international political connotations, highlighted the depth of their apprehension about being drawn into global conflicts far removed from their everyday lives. The local member, the state government and the federal government were put on notice: proceed with this and there would be significant political fallout. This wasn't just a discussion about defense policy, it was a profound question of community agency. of who gets to decide the future of a region and at what cost. The immediate battle wasn't fought in a court but in the court of public opinion. A deeply Australian arena where the concept of a fair go often clashes with the machinery of government and national security. The South Coast Labor Council, armed with the newly released documents and the mandate of its members, didn't file an immediate lawsuit. Instead, their legal and moral stand began with a direct challenge to the political establishment. They invoked the spirit of local democracy, arguing that such a monumental decision with potentially catastrophic implications for a civilian population could not be made without genuine consultation and transparency. They began organizing community meetings, drawing upon the collective power of local unions and residents. Using the principles of democratic representation that underpin our entire system, their strategy was to apply pressure through their elected representatives, both state and federal, leveraging the political implications of alienating a significant voting bloc. While not a formal tribunal, the public discourse became the forum where arguments were heard. The union presented the evidence of the secret documents, highlighting the lack of transparency, and contrasted it with the potential risks, environmental, economic, and security-related. They argued that the Privacy Act 1988 * dictates a level of transparency in government dealings, and that the public had a right to know about decisions that would fundamentally alter their lives. They also touched on the broader implications for local industries and how the shift might impact the livelihoods of those covered by the Fair Work Act 2009 *. Fearing job losses in traditional sectors for highly specialized, potentially non-local labor. What was at stake wasn't just a naval base, it was the social fabric of an entire region and the fundamental Australian expectation that communities have a say in their destiny, particularly when that destiny involves becoming a potential flashpoint in international relations. The government, on the other hand, presented its defence through official statements and press conferences, emphasising national security imperatives and the strategic importance of the AUKUS alliance, often couched in terms of Australia's long-term defence. The unspoken argument was often that some decisions for the greater good must be made by those with access to intelligence beyond public comprehension. The resolution in this evolving saga is not a simple W&or loss, as you might find in a VCAT tenancy dispute or a Fair Work Commission unfair dismissal case. It's a dynamic, ongoing negotiation, a test of political will against community power. The revelation of Port Kembla as the preferred site for a nuclear submarine base ignited a furious debate that forced the government to acknowledge the community's concerns more directly. While no official retraction of Port Kembla as a preferred site has been issued at the time of this recording, the intense public and union pressure has undeniably slowed the immediate progression of any concrete plans. The South Coast Labor Council's vocal opposition, amplified by local media and community groups, has meant that the Defence Department cannot simply roll out its plans without significant political cost. They haven't achieved a complete reversal, but they have secured a crucial victory in bringing the issue into the light, forcing a level of transparency that was previously absent. The political fallout they warned of has begun manifesting in increased scrutiny, demands for environmental impact assessments under state and federal environmental laws, and pledges for more detailed community consultations. For Maria and Mark, this means their voices are now at least being heard, even if the ultimate outcome remains uncertain. It's a classic Australian scenario of the little battler fighting a behemoth, and while the fight isn't over. They've demonstrated that a united community can force even the largest institutions to